Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is September 11th, 2023, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the market's pretty much just drifting lower. But first, no major economic events scheduled for today. So as we start out with the Forex symbols, we're watching the Japanese yen actually strengthen versus the US dollar as that almost hit new lows for the year. Now looking at the indices, both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ inched higher. And looking at commodities, gold was pretty much unchanged, while oil still very resilient. Now looking at the stocks, they're pretty much mixed. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin remains unchanged. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go, starting with the Euro USD, and as we drifted lower, we're actually getting a little bit of a bounce. So it's not that thing that we need to really just make a big deal out of it because it's not that significant, but we're just right there, okay? So this may taper off and may lead us even lower. I mean, we are a bona fide downwards momentum. We are a bona fide downwards trend. If you look at the larger trend, you can see it. I mean, if we skip to a daily, just to give us perspective, we've retraced quite significantly, okay, for the Euro USD. And you can see that we've even broken or really gotten to that turbulent area of that supportish area. Now, if jumping to the GBP USD, a little bit more resilience there. Now, if it does break this 200-day moving average, which is the black line, that's very significant. So you gotta keep an eye on this and still follow it. Now, jumping into the Japanese yen, and this is where it starts out. Japanese yen is actually a very interesting currency because it's a leading indicator, and that's really important to us. Now, it's trading at 146. It did strengthen. If you look at a weekly, it almost hit new lows for the year, okay, which is really further new lows for the year, okay, which would have been at around that 150-ish level. So we are at resistance-ish area. It did correct itself, but let's see where we take it from here. Now, jumping into commodities, first looking at gold, tapering off, 1926, not doing much, really unchanged, but crude oil remains very resilient, hanging out around that top edge and possibly even pushing higher. That could still happen, so just keep that in mind. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, the Dow Jones just inched up higher after drifting lower. But really, all intents and purposes, we're about 200-300 points higher. But this could be the beginning of where we correct ourselves into the upper range. I mean, we sold off quite significantly both in the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ as well. And this is trading in tandem, trading together, which is a nice sign. Now, looking at the various stocks. Okay, now Apple got hit last week. Remember, with what happened with China saying that any government agencies are not allowed to have any Apple products. And boom, that affected Apple. Obviously, that would affect a couple $2 billion at least of revenue. However, keep in mind, Apple's got a lot of other tricks up its sleeves, and it's coming out with its Apple Expo. I think it's this week. As my son has been telling me, he's a big Apple fan. And it's not going anywhere. Okay, Apple's still the innovator in the market. They are setting the tone. They're setting the products that are coming out tomorrow, and all the others are going to have to kind of knock off. So keep that in mind. And so looking at the individual stocks, it's a little bit mixed. Like if we look at Facebook, a little bit down. Okay, not really doing much. Microsoft also just a little bit down. Have to wait, edging a little bit higher. JP Morgan also on its lower end. Okay, so like to see some sort of resilience this week. However, if we look at Intel, still close to its highs, okay, on its highs for its year, okay, which is relatively a very important stocks. Remember, because it's at the beginning of the product chain of, Intel chips that are put into all these type of devices, and boom, Intel's a really important company for that factor. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, really unchanged. It's trading a very tight range. This September has really proven to us it's been quiet. Okay, we went from the end of August selling off to the beginning of September selling off, and now we're just, drifting sideways or drifting a little bit lower. So keep that in mind that we need some data to give us some perspective of where we're going. Inflation is a big factor, and interest rates is a big factor moving into the last cycle of possibly coming out of this infraction stage of a recession that we're in. Okay, we haven't officially hit recession, but it does look like it as well. So keep that in mind. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day and a beautiful week ahead.